9 News politics guy Marshall Zelinger is here now. Marshall, we're so glad we can kind of pick your brain. Lots to talk about. Do we have any sense of how quickly these orders are going to be placed into effect?
I mean, the idea is as soon as you sign it, and so we're waiting for that at this party rally at the Capital One Arena in D.C. for him to start signing some of these executive orders. But it depends on what the order is calling for and how broad it is, whether or not he has the power to do it as president or whether he would actually need Congress to be part of it, if there's any court challenges based on what he signs, and again, the idea of like overreaching power, whether something a president can do or not. So like for one of the things that you talked about, Sam, was the border. If you're going to send National Guard troops to the border, the idea that if you do this by executive order, does the president have the power to do this alone without Congress? And there is history that in Trump in 2018, he did send troops to the border. I believe this was in Texas, to act as border agents. So that could happen, particularly in Trump-friendly states. Another example, speeding up permitting for oil and gas drilling. But this is on federal land. So think about in Colorado, there's oil and gas restrictions in a lot of places, but this is on federal land, mainly on the western slope and in mountainous areas. That could change, probably the permitting issues could change as soon as an executive order is signed. So again, depending on the policy, there could be a lot of local impact. But immigration for sure. And I know my colleague Kyle Clark just talked with Denver Mayor Mike Johnston about preparing for what's to come. What are you preparing for in terms of immigration, potential federal funding losses, and what would you do to support this new administration, and what might you do to get in the way of it?
And, you know, to that point, we are seeing major differences in attitude when it comes to from one city to the next. So can you explain to us, to our viewers, why immigration policy in places like Castle Rock and Aurora, or Aurora, I should say, might look different? I think that's going to be, I'm a little worried about some of the political divide there.
Well, you look at Castle Rock, Douglas County, and you mentioned Aurora. These are all, again, Trump-friendlier places. And so there's a line, though, between what a local can do and what state law currently allows. There was a state law passed in 2019 that limits local and state law enforcement cooperation with immigration agents. Local law enforcement is not supposed to get involved to detain someone on a civil issue or share information with ICE about the location of someone that ICE might be looking for you or for. You can assist federal agents with warrants and criminal cases. And so Douglas County and Castle Rock have been explicit, like, we're going to allow our resources to be available. There is a line, though, between when that could start to violate state law and what those local law enforcement resources are allowed to do.
Well, I'm curious, Governor Polis was there, you know, during Inauguration Day, and he in the past, like a lot of Democratic governors, have been critical of President Trump. But do you see this term, maybe they're going to play nice?
He's there, we're told he's there because of his role with the National Governors Association. I believe he's chair of that now. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, he has a reason to be there. I've actually reached out to see if we could talk about his experience and expectations. I'm waiting to hear if I can get a phone call with him. Here's my thought. He's done in office in 2 years, and then the next presidential election is in 4 years. So you know your runway is low, and you're running out of runway in terms of your political aspirations here if you want to be president.
Right.
It would benefit to play nice, perhaps, with the administration. We know his fondness from his social media of RFK Jr. and his defense of him as a cabinet appointment. So there are places I know that Polis likes to see himself more as a moderate. And some people will say, well, that's a very conservative and Republican view. But he paints himself as both as a progressive sometimes and as a moderate, and so it just depends, I think, on what the issue is. But I think he was there solely because of his role with this national organization. If he was not part of the National Governors Association in leadership, I don't know if he would have been there today.
Mm-hmm. So many of us have asked him, and he adamantly denies he has, you know, eyes on the White House, but we don't believe that, do we?
Oh, you're asking me official? No, I do not. There comes a time when I ask him, I'll ask, you look at the people, like how many times did I ask Phil Weiser, is he running for governor? Right. He's running for governor. So if you hear enough no's, it's like, well, I don't believe you anymore.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Yes.
Oh, so much more to break down with you, so if you don't mind, you'll come back in about 30 minutes, and we can pick your brain and ask you more questions.
Of course.
Marshall, thank you.